We're here today to talk about communications with your students and using Canvas to do that in a variety of ways. So today with me, I'm Paula Thorsland, Director of the Learning Design Team, and I have with me Eva Growling Snyder. She's a new to our team as well. So we're going to kind of be tag teaming and talking about different stuff and sharing our screen. I'm going to start off by introducing to you announcements, and I'm sure you've seen announcements when we talk about ways that we interact with our students. One of the main, we're going to just kind of go through a variety of tools that Canvas has and ways in which you can interact with students. So one of the ways is announcements, and when you get your course, you'll notice that a lot of stuff is hidden. You can tell that by the eyeball with the line through it. One of them is announcements. Now, this is my sandbox, but it's also sort of just like my actual course that I teach. So what I do is I have the announcements tied or pinned to the top of the homepage. So when they log in, they see the most recent announcements at the top. And to do that, I used under settings, I went to settings. And under settings, if you scroll down, right, you can see that it says show recent announcements on a course homepage. So it can be either, it doesn't have to, whatever homepage you have set up, it will show as whatever number of announcements you want. So I like 2 because I feel like it doesn't take up that much space. And so I put 2, but you could have 3. You can change it, make as many as you want showing up there. This is a choice that I've made in my course. It's not a requirement, but that's an easy way for students to be shown the announcements right when they log in. So anytime you change something here, you're going to want to make sure you update your course details so that it saves, right? And so now when you go to my homepage, you'll see that the recent announcements are sitting at the top, and there are the 2 recent announcements. And I've made this one recent announcement in order to show you what that looks like for the student when they get it in an email. And I hope I'm going to be able to show you that. But I'm going to show you how you create these announcements. You do not have to have this showing on the menu for the students to see them in this location. I feel like if you have less things showing on the menu for students, the better. So that's why I have chosen to keep it hidden. But for you to create an announcement, if you click on announcements, it'll take you to this announcement page. You can add an announcement, right, by clicking add, the big blue button, as typical on most pages of Canvas. You have a blue plus button. So, and you can just type your topic, give your contents. You can attach a file. Obviously, you can format this in a lot of ways, and you can link, you can embed. There's a lot of things you can do with this what you see, what you get editor. There are tools here to deal with accessibility as well, to make sure that what you've put in there is accessible. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's not why we're here today, but just be aware that that's what these are for, letting you know if it's accessible or not. Attach a file works just like any other attach a file. I did not mean to make that open. Hold on, of course. Hold on, cancel. There we go. You can post this to all your sections. So what's nice about the tool is you can send it, if you have multiple sections, you can send it to all your sections. You can also send it to like I don't have multiple second sections, so you could put in just section 1, for instance, instead of all of them. You can also allow participants to comment. You can, if you want them to interact with your announcement, you can disallow threaded replies, so they can't just go back and forth replying to each other throughout that, or you can leave that open. You can also just turn that off. You don't have to have comments on your announcement. So those are options. There's and you can enable a podcast feed, and include student replies in the podcast feed. Obviously, a podcast feed would be basically reading that out to the students, right? You can allow liking, if you want, as well. And then you can set dates. You can make this available from whatever date that you want. So you're basically scheduling when you want your announcement to go. I don't want this announcement to go until, let's say, tomorrow, and then I'm gonna choose a time, whatever time I want it to go out to them. And then I want them to only see it maybe until, next week. And then it's gonna disappear, right? And I can choose that as well. And I don't have to use these times, but I can, right? So that's a choice. And then you just publish. And once you publish, it's going to go to them. And it's also going to go to their email. And then there's also an opportunity to do that from a global perspective. You can send a global message. You can work with announcements for all of your classes. So you can send out a message, like if you're going to be out for the day and you want all of your classes, you can do that from a global perspective as well. And scheduling, I did. Okay, I think I covered everything. Anything I missed, Eva?
Do you want to show the notifications area real quick, just
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
let
Yeah,
folks know that how students receive information like announcements in Canvas is tied to their notification preferences,
right.
which is a student-to-student choice. And typically most students don't go in here and update this, but this is something that they can customize what email addresses they receive that at, what frequency they receive those announcement
Absolutely.
notifications, etc.
Absolutely. So if you click on your face and under account at the top, you're going to see your profile and then notifications. And this is also great for you because you can decide what announcements you're going to get, notifications, excuse me, that you're going to get and how you're going to get them. Is a weekly summary. There's the notifications off, and there's a daily summary, so you can get them notified immediately. So if you have, this might be something you show your students when you meet them face to face and say, look, let's look at your notifications. It might be important that you get due dates immediately, right? Or you might need this pushed to your devices, or like I actually have this other test account. So whatever your account gives you these options. And so of course activity, and here's for announcements, right? And mine I have set for notify immediately, but it's just a matter of clicking on the little icon and you can change that. You can even shut off notifications. And this would be an opportunity for you to talk to your students about the fact that you probably don't want to turn off some of these notifications and which ones they might want to turn on so that they're not missing crucial information from you. Yeah,
And I would recommend to folks that announcements created by you, that you go in and turn those on, because if you allow responses to an announcement, being able to get notified about those responses is great. That also, when you send an announcement in your course, it also sends that announcement to your email if you have that particular row announcement created by you toggled. So I know that was one of the questions, was getting a receipt essentially of an announcement in email, and under that notifications, you can get that email from ones that you've created.
right. The other thing that I would note is that you can also go in and edit these. So once you create it, you can go back and edit these. Of course, now I'm in as a student, not as the teacher, because I've done this to myself too. But if you go in as and you go to your announcements, and you can see that you can delete it, but you can also edit these, not from not from my perspective that I'm in right now. I'm in as a student, but let me see, how can I get out of that so I'm not in it as a student anymore? Let me just go to another course as an example. Okay, so then if I go to announcements. So when you go in here, you can literally edit this, right? Change what you want it to say. And if you do edit something, when you go to save it again, it's going to ask you, do you want to resend this to, or do you want to just save it as is? And obviously, if it's something big, like I just made a huge change, you're gonna want to resend it to the students. And if you just change something very simple, like before I turned off the podcast feed, just, that doesn't matter. It's not gonna make a big difference. So I just save and don't send.
Okay, at this point we're going to move into talking about Canvas Inbox, which shares a lot of similarities to announcements, but functions a bit more as an email program embedded within Canvas. So in Canvas Inbox, you can filter your inbox by specific courses. By default, it's going to show you all of your messages from all of your courses. You can also compose messages to your students. So what you can do by clicking this compose button in the top right here is you can select a specific course and you can message either the entire course or you can message specific students within the course. So if, for instance, I wanted to message everybody in a particular course, I can click the to line and click to choose. Let me go back and click to choose everybody in this particular course, and it will load that. But I could also go in and say I want to choose a specific student and send to just that student. Then you have a subject line and a message body, and you don't have quite the same tools in the message body that you would have in a normal email program, so you can't necessarily do like headings or things like that. You can attach a file, and you can also do an audio or video recording in here as well. This box right here allows you to change from sending a single message to everyone to sending individual messages to every recipient. So that if you wanted to, for instance, message your class to tell them that their grades for a particular assignment are now available, this might be a good thing so that you get different threads with all of your students and you've separated all of those out. I also want to quickly highlight here that under the settings area of Canvas Inbox, you have two features that are common in email programs. You have an out of office option and you have a signature option. So you can set up a signature by default. These are going to be off, but you can go in here and you can set up a signature like you would have in your email, your Outlook email. And you can set up an out of office reply, including start dates and end dates for these. The most important thing with Inbox to remember is that Inbox connects to your email. So if you message a student through Inbox, they will receive that in their email. And if they message you through Inbox, you will also receive that in your email. So this is going to function in a similar way to how you might use your Outlook email, but it keeps the record here in Canvas and allows you to message your students directly through Canvas. So a lot of folks find this to be a really quick and easy way to go about messaging students. But if you prefer to just go through your email client, you can do that as well. Where things get, yes, Christine.
So Eva, if we get a inbox to our email, can we respond back from our Outlook, or do we have to go back into Canvas to respond back? That's what I
You
was.
can respond back
Okay.
through Outlook, yes.
what I thought you said.
And it will populate that into the inbox as
Okay,
well.
good. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So where things get really powerful, and where one of my favorite features in Canvas, is a function that you can do called message students who. And I want to show you this. There's a couple ways you can get here. Typically, this is most commonly something you want to get to through your gradebook. So Message Students Who allows you to select a particular group of students based on certain criteria. And Message Students Who, a common use might be something like messaging students who have not yet turned in a particular assignment, or students who have not, who received below a certain grade or above a certain grade. It allows you to en masse message all of those students at once instead of having to identify those and message them one by one. And through the gradebook, if you go into a course, you click on grades and get into your gradebook, all of your columns will have anything that is published will have these three dots on that column, and you can click those three dots and select Message Students Who. And that will pull up, you should see here, what looks like a compose window for an email. And you'll have a few options here. So you can message students who have not yet submitted that particular assignment. You can message students who have submitted that particular assignment. You can message students who have not yet been graded for that assignment, and then you can do, based on their score, less than or more than a particular score. So some common ways that I do this when I'm teaching is I will message students who haven't submitted a particular assignment after the due date has passed with a reminder and maybe a little bit of information about my late policy. And I'll include all of that and just message them all at once to say, hey, you haven't submitted this yet. Please do so as soon as possible. Here's the information about my late policy. When you select a particular option, such as have not yet submitted, you'll see the list of students that have not yet submitted. So it will show you, it will populate that list of students. This particular course only has my test student in it. It does not have actual students in it. But if you had actual students in this course, you would see that list of students here. Then you can compose a subject line, compose a message. Again, if you want to attach anything, you can do that. You can also choose to skip excused students. So this is using the excuse status. So if you give statuses on your assignments, you can excuse a student from a particular assignment, and you can choose to skip them when you're messaging here. Other use cases, if you want to, for instance, message students who scored less than a particular grade on, say, an exam, with information about potentially extra credit, or if you say, for instance, do a practice exam, you could do the practice exam, and then students who receive below a particular score, you could offer them additional opportunities to help improve before the actual exam takes place. So there's a lot of potential in this Message Students Who. I think it is a wonderful opportunity for you to kind of do these interventions with your students to give timely messages that ensure that they can ensure that you can kind of steer them and help ensure that they have what they need to succeed in your course. So if you haven't used this Message Students Who, I'd encourage you to consider what could you do with this? What could you, how could you potentially reach out to students using this feature in ways that can help benefit their learning and help ensure that they're succeeding on their assignments and succeeding in your course?
I wanted to just point out that something I actually forgot to say in the first little bit. We're gonna go here, course details. One of the things that I meant to point out to you is under help. So if you go under help and you go to the video guides for faculty, unlike Inbox, all of the other tools that we're going to talk about have these resources right there. So for instance, announcements is right here, and you can click on that, and then you'll get a list of different things that you can do with announcements. So more specific about what we've already just shown you, right? And how to do those things. And some of them have videos that go with them, which are also very useful, like the RSS feed thing. So I just wanted to point that out. That's true for the majority of the tools that we're going to be talking about today. One of the
I also
the-
shared a link. I just
Yes, I
shared a
did.
link in chat for inbox details
Yeah.
because those video guides do not include inbox. But I shared a link in chat with the information about inbox.
Yeah.
There's a video for instructors there as well.
Yeah, so a lot of good resources there. So now if we go back to the course, I'm gonna sort of, I think I'm supposed to be going to Teams, right? So I don't know if, has anybody heard of Pronto before? Has anybody on the call heard of Pronto?
Yep.
Yep. So Pronto is, it's on for my course right now. So I have it here. Pronto allows you to do, I gotta get rid of this. Can you see that? There you go. Pronto allows you to have direct real-time interaction with your students. So one of the things that happened for me was I was teaching one year and the kids said, oh, we're gonna set up a Discord to chat with each other. Who wants to join? And I was like, I do. And they were like, oh, really? Well, we'll set up a separate one for you. And I was like, what? And so we ended up setting up this Discord, and the kids asked all sorts of questions, chatting, using it's sort of like Slack, or so it's a similar idea. And it's just basically instant messaging back and forth. So we looked into getting one for Blackboard, which we ended up getting was Pronto. So it's a limited set of licenses for this right now, but it's real-time communication. I used it when I taught this last time as course discussion. So they had like a discussion ongoing discussion outside of the classroom through instant chat, which was really interesting because they can put GIFs and they can put links to things, just like Slack. So I really liked it. Now, what's cool is that we're getting a new thing, a new integration, and we haven't added it yet, but we are going to be putting in, no, you can't see it there. I was thinking, where can you see it? But I guess you can't actually see it anywhere here yet. We're going to be adding a tool called Microsoft 365. And when we do that, when we integrate that tool, it's going to allow you to use Teams in your class to chat instantly with your students. So it's going to be a new option besides Pronto. So the downside of Pronto, they can do it right in their course. So if they go, let me see if I can, I don't know if my old course probably won't let me see it anymore, but all courses. So when they're in the course directly, let me just see if that works. I don't know if it'll still work here. I might have to still connect, yeah. So when you're in the course directly, okay, so here you can see I have a different chat going. They can do it on their computer. So you can see they can chat with each other on their computer. And that's great when they're on the computer. But if they're on their phone, which we know most of them are, they need to use an app for the Pronto chat. So that limits it a little bit. I mean, they'd have to do that with Slack. You could also integrate Slack. They would probably have to do something similar with Teams, but it'll be integrated in the same way, and all your students would be automatically added. So this is a kind of an interesting, if you're interested, this is a little sales pitch. If you're interested in creating a instant messaging tool with your students, you can come and work with us and we can decide, is it going to be Pronto? Is it going to be Teams? Is it going to be Slack? Something like that, whatever you feel comfortable with. And we can help you set that up. So my goal here was just to show you that there's this option. I can't really do it interactively because it's basically on an app and you're not part of it. But at the end of the day, I can show, actually, no, that's instructional design. No, I don't think I can. This is all under Canvas, so you can't text me, right, Eva? Yeah, I can't. But so Eva and I chat with each other on this as well, and she can just direct message me when she needs to get in contact, which is great. So it's a great option, and you can direct message students from it. Like here, you can see and you can also set up groups, which was what I did with my students. I set up a bunch of groups, and I had them work together in answering questions and such, sort of outside of the classroom. But that's just a little quick pitch on one thing that we have, one thing that's coming, Teams, and another tool like Slack that you could have added to Canvas for more communication or immediate 24/7. Then, of course, you have to tell them, I'm not going to answer in the middle of the night, because they do text you in the middle of the night.
And I know somebody in the questions, in the burning questions, had asked about grading discussions, and I can show a little bit about that process as well. So discussions in Canvas, if you have not used discussions, they're an excellent tool in Canvas for you to facilitate discussions with students, with each other, with you. Create community in your courses, and engage in that academic inquiry. So discussions are located under the discussion area in your course, and as Paula mentioned, we recommend leaving it hidden. You can enable students to access these discussions by adding them to your course modules under the modules area of your course. You do not need to have this enabled. But if you go to discussions and you click the blue add discussion button, you'll have the option to give it a title, add a discussion prompt right here. And then you'll have a number of different settings here. Discussions allow for anonymity. So this is not a common use case, but something that you might want to consider. There's certain situations, like for instance, if you wanted to do a general course Q&A option, that is something that you could choose to allow students to submit questions anonymously. You can also choose to do partial anonymity, in which students opt in to anonymous or opt out of anonymous, based on their individual choices. For the most part, though, most folks leave this off so that students are identified by their name and their profile picture whenever they post to the discussion. This checkbox right here is really important because threading is kind of a common way that folks are going to interact with discussions. This means that if a student replies to your discussion prompt, if this box is unchecked, Canvas doesn't always make it clear here because sometimes checking a box does a thing, sometimes it doesn't do a thing. And here, if you leave this unchecked, that means that your discussion will be threaded. So if a student replies, then another student can come in and reply to that student. So if you want them to be replying to each other, leave this box unchecked right here. If you do not want them to be able to reply to each other and you only want them to reply to your overall prompt, then you can check this box to disallow the threading. There's also an option to make it so that students must respond to your initial prompt before they can see each other's replies and reply to each other. So this can be helpful to prevent kind of groupthink or to prevent them from seeing each other's replies and then kind of basing their new reply on what each other has said. So a lot of folks typically will turn this on, but that is a choice that you need to make on a case-by-case or course-by-course basis. You can toggle whether or not your discussion is graded here. You can also allow liking, which is just a thumbs up, like on social media. And you can choose to add this to the student to-do list. And you can toggle whether this is a group discussion or not. So groups are set up in your individual course through the people area, and they allow you to divide your students into different groups. And group discussions can be a great way to allow your students to have a space to coordinate and collaborate and talk with each other. For instance, on a group project, setting up a group discussion can be a great way for them to share files with each other, share, ideas and things like that. So that is something that you can set up here as well.
Eva, can you click
Yes.
on the graded right now?
Yes.
Because it
Yes.
opens up an interesting add-on, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the newer features is to allow for checkpoints. Your assignment has to be graded, but if you check the assigned graded checkpoints, that's going to give you the option to assign points to students based on the number of replies that they have completed. So there's a points box for their initial reply. And then that's the reply to topic. And then there's points for how many required replies they have. So let's say 2 as a common number. And then how many points you want to assign based on those required additional replies. So for instance, if my total discussion is 10 points and I want to say 8 points for their initial post and 2 points for their additional replies, you can set all of that up here after you've checked this box for assigned graded checkpoints. Thank you
It's
for
a
flagging
great
that.
addition to, like in Blackboard where we didn't have any way to sort of monitor this, and this is a great add-on, I think, for discussions to be able to do this. So many teachers have to like think about that as they're grading. so,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this also opens up when you do the checkpoints, it also opens up 2 different due dates, which is a wonderful thing. Canvas surfaces anything that has a due date to students through their to-do list, which is something that many students use. It shows up on their mobile app. Students use the to-do list extensively, and some students even exclusively use the to-do list to interact with their courses. And so having these due dates reflect what you want them to do. So when they do their initial reply and when they do their required additional replies, that is a really great way to help ensure that the students know what they need to do when they need to do it. So you can set those dates individually here, and then as typical with any kind of assignment, you can set availability dates or leave those blank if you don't want to lock down the discussion to specific dates.
I'd also like to add in this part here about the assign to. It's one of the things that's kind of overlooked, the fact that we can, a lot of teachers merge their classes, they have 2 different sections. So you can actually have one assignment and have you have your different sections, and then you can create different due dates for those different sections by just assigning. So here you could assign to section 1, and then the next one you could assign to like section 2, and then you can set due dates for each of those setups, and that's just a choice that, and you can do this anywhere where you're assigning things to students. This assign to gives you a lot more flexibility in how you give due dates to students and when you have merged courses. Or you can also literally assign to a specific person or a set of people, like a group. So that's another really great thing that you can do as well. So sometimes you might have an extra assignment for somebody. Okay.
And okay, let me just go ahead and go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I want to highlight a couple other things real quick that can be helpful. One thing that a lot of students don't necessarily know this, but when students reply to your discussions, they have the option to @mention specific people. So this can be a helpful way to ensure that if you're having students, say, discuss each other's work on a discussion board, @mentions can help ensure that they are clearly communicating with each other. And students will receive notifications if they are @mentioned in a discussion. And all they have to do is type the @symbol, and then they can choose any of the other students in the course. They can choose you as the teacher and just click on the name, and that will populate, and then they'll get those notifications that way. So that can be a great way to kind of encourage that communication with each other through the discussion board. I also wanted to speak quickly to grading of the discussion boards. So let me go ahead and publish this discussion board. When you go to grade, so I'm going to open this in SpeedGrader. So currently there's no submission here. Let me actually go in as a
And
test
reply.
student and reply. And then I can show you, there's an option to view the discussion in a couple different ways when you are grading that through the SpeedGrader in Canvas. So when you're grading a discussion in Canvas, this one's set up with the checkpoints. By default, you're going to see well, actually, I think by default, you'll probably see the individual posts. I likely have changed this myself. So can we toggle to individual posts? No. Of course, it's not going to perform as expected. So there's essentially two views in the SpeedGrader for discussions when you're grading them. There's the view that shows you the overall discussion and highlights the post. So you see this post kind of highlighted in blue. Then there's a view that shows you only this specific student, and it shows you just their post. It doesn't show you the whole discussion interface. I personally find that one a lot cleaner and easier to use when I'm grading. There should be a statement along the top that shows you, if you're seeing it in the other view, that you can switch to see it in discussion context, or if you're seeing it in the context of the overall discussion, you can switch to individual posts. You'll also see here, since we have the checkpoints, we can actually assign a grade to students based on their initial reply and then based on their required replies and additionally, and then it will auto-calculate that grade here. So if I said 8 here and 2 here, it'll auto-calculate that to 10 points here. So one thing we wanted to show off here with the calendar is if you want to host anything like appointment times where students can set up a time to talk with you, to conference with you, you can do that directly through your Canvas calendar. So Canvas calendar, if you don't already know, every course has its own separate Canvas calendar, and you also have one as a user, as a Canvas user. So you'll see here that I have one for my user, but then I also have individual calendars for every course that I'm participating in. If you go and you go to calendar, again, calendar is from the global navigation in Canvas. You can click on calendar and click the plus sign to create an event. You can create a variety of different event types here. So you can create just a normal Canvas event. You can also do repetition, so recurring events in your course. But what we wanted to particularly highlight is this appointment group option right here. And the appointment groups allow you to set a time range for students to be able to sign up for specific slots. So this allows you to say, I'm going to be available from 3 to 5 p.m. today, and I want my students to be able to sign up in 15-minute blocks. So for instance, let's say today, and yeah, let's say 3 o'clock, p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. There we go. So 3 o'clock p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. today, and 15-minute slots right here. Typically, you're going to want to say limit the slots to one user. So this means one student, one slot. And then you can choose to allow them to see who's signed up for slots. You can also limit it so they can only sign up for one slot. If you want them to be able to sign up for back-to-back slots or, you know, several different slots, you can uncheck this. But typically, I will check this, limit each slot to one user, limit each user to one slot, essentially. Then you can tie it.
Can you add
Yes.
more dates than one date to that?
Yes, so before, when I selected today, it creates a new row, and then I deleted that row. But if you want to do this, you can go in and say, okay, I want to do the same for I want to do the same for next Tuesday, and then do that, and then I want to do the same for you know, next Thursday, and do that. There isn't a super quick and easy recurring calendar slots. You do have to kind of manually go through and add all of the dates that you want, but you can set it up all at once, so you don't have to set up appointment group and after another. You can just do it each as a row in this set of ones right here. Then you can give it a name, you can give it a location. Typically, if I'm doing it on Zoom, I'll just do the Zoom link as the location. And you can tie it to your course calendar. So this is important because if you want it to show up in that specific course, you want to tie it to this course calendar. And you can put any details in here. I typically also put the Zoom link in the details, so if the students miss it here in the location, they also get it in the details, just to make sure that they've got all of that. Then when you go and you publish it, let me just call this test. I'm going to do Zoom just for now. I'm going to remove, I'm just going to do for September 30th. Then you'll see this available here, and students will be able to go into their course calendar and sign up for any of those blocks that they want to sign up for. You can go in and see who has signed up for these as well. And so this can be a really helpful way to kind of enable those conferences, those office hours, anything like that. Often I'll have like a normal drop-in office hour, but then I'll have another hour beyond that that's for appointments. And if my students sign up for them, great, I will be there. If not, then I don't need to be there for in Zoom waiting for them when they're not going to be there. So just wanted to let folks know about that feature because it's a very hidden but very helpful feature in Canvas.
We're going to also offer conversations about collaborations and Poll Everywhere. You saw Poll Everywhere in action. Collaborations is just a tool that allows you to have your students collaborate like through a Google Doc in Canvas, but I don't want to spend a lot of time. We're at 5 minutes to the end, so I just wanted to let you know that there's a collaboration tool that allows you to integrate right into your Canvas classroom, an opportunity for students to collaborate on like a Google Doc or a Google Slideshow or a Google spreadsheet. And that's a very nice feature. I've used it often in my face-to-face class to have them work together to build a PowerPoint or whatever. But in the interest of time, I want to open the door for questions and let you know that if you want to learn more about any of these tools, obviously you can set an appointment with us, come to VOH, and get help.